We are once again on the record, case of State of Ohio versus Michael T. Dixon, 20 CR 0201. And Mr. Dixon is present along with his attorneys, and the prosecution team is here. The jury is here, including the alternate. At this point, the state has rested. And so, Mr. Baum, sorry, your next witness, please, or your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The defense would intend to call Michael Dixon.
What up, Mr. Dixon? Please raise your right hand, sir. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to provide in this cause is truth, the whole truth, and nothing but truth, so help you God. All right, thank you. Please be seated. And when you're comfortable, pull the microphone in front of you. If you could remove your mask. And Mr. Dixon, you have the right to not have your picture broadcast or be in any news story. Do you care about that, or do you want your picture excluded?
I don't care.
You don't care? Okay, so his pictures can be used. All right. And you've been sworn, and go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Dixon, would you please state your full name, spell your last name for the record?
Michael Thomas Dixon, Dixon.
Thank you. And Mr. Dixon, I know your voice is a little bit quiet, but if you can make sure that you speak up during this proceeding so that everyone can hear you.
All right.
All right. Now, Mr. Dixon, obviously you know what you're doing here today, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this is going to be your opportunity to explain your side of things, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to start off by explaining to everybody here how you came to meet Mr. James Whitaker.
He was friends with my stepdad.
Okay. And your stepdad's name is?
Frank Spacey.
Okay. And how long have you known Frank?
36 years.
Okay. So he's effectively your father figure?
Yes.
Okay. And you were introduced to James by Mr. Spacey?
Yes.
So how long have you known Mr. Whitaker?
15 years.
Okay. Quite some time?
Yes.
Okay. You started living with him, I believe the testimony has been about 2 years prior to his death. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So that was about 3 years ago, roughly?
Yep.
Okay. Before you started living with him, what was your relationship like with Mr. Whitaker?
I just know him from my stepdad.
Okay. How often would you associate with him or be around him?
Once or twice a year.
Okay. Infrequently?
Yes.
Okay. How did you come to start living with Mr. Whitaker?
His wife passed away, and when he needed work, I went up, didn't have really a place to stay, and I started staying with him.
Okay. What kind of work are you talking about?
Work around the house, mowing his yard, taking him to the doctors, stuff like that.
Okay. So just general work you would do for him?
Yes.
Okay. And you said you didn't have a place to stay at that time?
No.
Okay. So did he invite you to stay with him, or did you invite yourself? How did that come about?
He invited me to stay.
Okay. Was this a gradual thing, or did one day he actually formally invite you?
Gradually thing.
Okay. So when you were living with him, where did you take up residence in the household?
In the basement.
Okay. Was that your suggestion or his?
His.
Okay. When you were living there, were you still doing the same sort of work around the house?
Yes.
Okay. Did you pay him rent?
Later on down when I got to working, I did.
Okay.
But not at first, no.
Okay. So at first he just did it kindness?
Yes.
Okay. Were you still doing work and stuff around the house?
Yes.
Was he still paying you?
No.
So in lieu of rent, you were doing work and things of that nature?
Yes.
Okay. How did your relationship develop while you were there?
After I was there for a while, I looked at him like an uncle.
Okay.
We got close.
You got close?
Yes.
Okay. And you said you looked at him like an uncle?
Yes.
Okay. Now, obviously, that might mean different things to different people. Could you explain that a little bit further?
I really don't know anybody you spend 15, 20 hours a day with, you're going to get close to.
Okay. Was he at home the entire time, or was he working out of the house?
He was always home.
Okay. So you were around each other for a lot of the time?
Yes.
Okay. Did you guys generally get along?
Most of the time.
Okay. Did you ever bicker or fight?
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't want to get too far afield, but there's already been a lot of testimony about this, so I'm just going to be very direct about it. Did you guys ever use drugs together?
Yes.
Okay. What kind of drugs did you use together?
Meth.
Anything else?
Pain pills.
Meth and pain pills?
Yep.
Was he prescribed either of those? Any of those?
It was prescribed pain pills, and there was pain pills and Xanax.
Okay. Did he ever obtain these outside of his prescription?
No.
Okay. But he offered them to you as well?
Yes.
Okay. How often were you using drugs together?
About every other day.
Every other day?
Yes.
Okay. Were there times you used less frequently or more frequently?
No.
Just on average every other day?
Yep.
For 2 years?
Yes.
So, despite that, you said you generally got along well?
Most of the time.
When you bickered, we've heard testimony earlier about how it was like roommates. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Did it ever escalate beyond that?
Not really.
Not really? Okay. Now, there's also been testimony about guns and his use of guns. Did he ever pull a gun on you?
Yes.
He did. How often did that happen?
About 6 times in the time I stayed up there.
6 times over those 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
Was there any specific thing that he would pull a gun on you about, or was it just general?
Just general. Okay.
Do you remember any of the specific reasons that he pulled a gun on you?
No.
You don't remember them in particular? Okay. So, I want to direct you now sort of to the time period around July of 2020. We've heard a lot of testimony about what happened during those days, but I kind of want to get your perspective of those days. So let's start with July. Well, let me ask you, what day in July does this story really start?
I believe it would be the 5th.
The 5th? Which day of the week was that?
I believe it was a Friday or a Saturday. I'm not sure.
Looking at a calendar, if I see that a Friday or Saturday in July of 2020 was the 3rd or 4th, does that seem accurate to you?
Yes.
Okay. So, how did that evening start?
Me and my daughter went to the store, got some groceries, come back. We had a cookout.
You say we, who are you talking about?
Me, my daughter, and James Whitaker.
Okay. About what time of night was this?
It was probably about 7 o'clock.
Okay. So after the cookout, what happened then?
Me and my daughter went down to Kenny Emmerines.
Okay. Before you went to Kenny Amarine's, did anyone else come over to the house?
No.
Okay. We heard some testimony from Keith Strickland that he was over working on a car. Did that happen that night?
Yes, he did.
He did? About what time? Did he come before or after the cookout?
After.
After the cookout? Okay. Now, Mr. Strickland testified that he came and you were helping him work on the car and James was helping him work on the car. Is that accurate?
I was helping him work on the car. Jimmy stayed in the house.
He stayed in the house? Okay. Did he come out to the garage at all during that night?
Yes, he did come out.
He did? Okay. Now, we heard testimony from Mr. Strickland that you were all using drugs that evening. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. What kind of drugs were you all using that night?
Meth.
Pardon me?
Meth.
Meth? Was that just you or was that all of you?
All 3 of us.
All 3 of you. Mr. Strickland testified that he brought, I believe, about 1.5 grams of meth. Is that about accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have any meth as well or no?
No.
Do you remember if Mr. Whitaker had any meth with him at all?
He had a little bit.
He had a little bit as well? Okay. Okay. Do you remember how you all ingested the meth that evening?
Snorted it.
All of you did?
Keith shot his with a needle.
Keith did?
Yes.
Okay, but you and Mr. Whitaker both snorted it?
Yep.
Okay. Now, before we go too much further in the evening, how long have you used methamphetamines?
Like 4 years.
4 years?
Yes.
Do you have a good understanding of how meth affects you?
Yes.
How are you affected by meth when you use it?
It speeds you up. If you stay up very many days, in which that's what meth does, it keeps you up. Then it starts messing with your mind.
Okay. On this occasion, how many days in a row had you been up?
I believe 2, 3.
2 or 3 days in a row? Okay. You said that you've been with Mr. Whitaker pretty much over that entire time?
Yes.
Okay. Had he been using meth about the same as you had?
Yes.
Do you have any knowledge as to whether he slept during those days?
I really don't know if he did or not.
Okay. But you'd been with him primarily?
Yes.
Had you seen him sleep at all?
A couple hours.
Couple hours. Okay. And that was over a 2 or 3 day period, you just said? Okay. When Mr. Whitaker used meth around you, how did you observe his behavior?
It's pretty much himself.
Pretty much?
Yeah.
So you said that after Keith left, you and Melody went to Mr. Amarine's house?
Yes.
Okay, about what time did you leave to go to his house?
I think it was about 10:30.
Okay, and that was at night?
Yes.
How long did you stay at his house for?
And he's till about 4:30 in the morning,
What were you doing there?
working on his vehicle.
Okay. Were you doing anything else while you were there with him?
Meth.
Okay, also with Mr. Amarine?
Yep.
Okay. Where was your daughter while you were there?
In the truck sleeping.
Okay. So it was just you and Mr. Amarine out there?
Yep.
Okay. About 4:30 in the morning, what happened after that?
He said he had to go do something in the morning. I don't recall what it was. And then me and my daughter went back up to Jimmy's.
Okay. So you're saying that you arrived back at Jimmy's about 5 in the morning?
Yes.
And that would be on Sunday the 5th?
Yep.
Okay. Was there anyone else there?
No.
Okay, so the only people there were you, Melody, and Jimmy?
Yes.
And by Jimmy, you mean James Whitaker?
Yes.
Okay. So no one else knows what happened at this point except for the three of you?
Yes.
What happened when you first arrived at Mr. Whitaker's house?
Me and my daughter walked into the house. She told me she had to go use the bathroom. She went up to use the bathroom.
Okay, now hold on. You're going a little fast. I want to kind of break this down. You both walk in where into the house?
The front door.
Okay. And we've seen video of the front of the house. So both of you walk in the front door of the house, right?
Yes.
When you walk into the front door of the house, is anyone else in the house or awake?
Not at the time, no.
Okay. So you walk in the house, and then you said your daughter needed to go use the restroom?
Yes.
Okay. Now looking at the house, because again, we've seen the videos from the front door, where's the bathroom located?
Just right across from Jimmy's bedroom. You got where you first walk in, then you've got where you can either go up or go down. Then you've got like the kitchen area. You walk in through it, and it's be on the right-hand side.
Okay. So again, I want to make sure that everyone can see, visualize this. So you walk up those 3 steps.
Yep.
And then there's sort of a kitchen area.
You turn left, walk straight back, and then it's on the right.
That's where the bathroom's located.
Yes.
And Mr. Whitaker's bedroom is across from that door?
Yep.
Okay. So you both walk in, and Melody says she needs to go use the bathroom, and she walks toward there.
Yep.
What happens next?
Jimmy comes out, tells me to get the fuck off his property, and I ask him what his problem is.
Okay. Now, where does he come from?
His bedroom.
Okay. So did you see him walk out or just hear him?
At first I just heard him, then he come out and I seen he had his gun.
Okay. Do you know which gun he had?
The 1100, the Remington.
Okay. Let me take a slight digression. How well do you know guns, or how
I
often?
know guns real well.
Okay.
Grew up with them all my life.
Okay, so you've been around guns your whole life?
Yep.
Okay, so if you saw the gun, you know which one it is?
Yep.
Okay. And you're aware that we've also heard testimony about other firearms as well, correct?
Yep.
Okay, and you know specifically he had the 1100 Remington in his hand.
Yep.
Do you remember which hand he was holding it in?
It would have been in his left hand.
His left hand. Okay. So he comes out, and when you say he was coming out, where did he come from?
It would have been his bedroom across into the kitchen.
Okay. So he comes out of the bedroom and walks through the kitchen. Where are you standing?
Down when you first come in the door, where you could go either up or down.
Okay. So you're still in that sort of entryway area?
Yes.
So he comes around and has a gun in his hand and tells you to get off the property in no uncertain terms. And what do you say back to him?
I told him as soon as Melody got out of the bathroom, I would.
Did he tell you why he wanted you to leave?
No.
Okay. Why did you have an argument with him before you left?
No.
Okay. Was he accusing you of anything?
No.
Okay. He had previously not told you to leave the household, correct?
No.
So why was he telling you in this specific instance to do this?
I don't know.
Okay. Did he appear to be in his right mind?
No.
You use drugs with him often, correct?
Yes.
Did he appear to be under the influence on this occasion?
Yes.
Okay. So you told him as soon as Melody gets out, then you'll leave?
Yes.
What did he say then?
Told me Melody wasn't going with me.
Okay. So he told you to leave, but that you had to leave your daughter there with him?
Yes.
Did he tell you why?
No.
Okay. Where's Melody at this point?
In the bathroom,
Still.
behind him.
Okay. Did the argument escalate at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. How did you respond when he told you that Melody wasn't coming with you?
I told him he was full of shit.
Okay. Did you leave this area at all to go anywhere else at this
Yes,
point?
I went down to the basement
Okay. Why'd you go down to the
and
basement?
got my gun.
Okay. So he had a gun, and then you go and grab your gun.
Yep.
Why did you feel it necessary to go grab a gun?
Because he just didn't seem in the right state of mind, and he had a gun pointing it at me.
Okay.
The way I looked at it, any normal person that had a gun pointing at him is going to go get one.
Okay. Let's back up a second. At what point did he point the gun at you?
When I told him that I wasn't leaving Melody there.
Okay. So, just to go in sequence, Melody's in the bathroom and he tells you to leave.
Yep.
And then he tells you that Melody can't come with you.
Yep.
And you told him you're not leaving without her. And then he pointed a gun at you?
Yep.
Okay. When he pointed a gun at you, did you tell him anything?
I just told him I was going to get my gun.
So you go down to get a gun from the basement.
Yep.
Which gun was that?
1400 to Winchester.
The Winchester.
Yep.
Okay. And then when you come back up the stairs, presumably, what happens then?
When I got back to the top of the steps, I could see the top part of his head, and I shot him.
Okay. Did anything happen in between that?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Where was Melody at the time you got up the stairs?
At the time, I didn't know, but she was in front of Jimmy on the floor with, and he had the gun pointed at her head.
Okay. So you saw that?
Yes.
Okay. Did you hear him saying anything to Melody?
No.
Okay. Did you hear anything else?
No.
When you got up the stairs, what made you feel at that point it was necessary to shoot?
I'm really not sure.
Okay. So, did you hear anything that would have made you think that your life was in danger?
I heard the safety on his gun go click off.
Okay, well, that's a really important detail that I think we need to explore. So when you got upstairs, you heard a safety click off?
Yep.
Okay. How do you know what that sounds like?
If you've been around guns very much, you can know what it sounds like. It's just a click.
Okay. Have you ever used the 1100 before?
Yes, I've hunted with it many times.
So you know exactly what the sound of a safety clicking off is?
Yeah.
Okay. And you saw Mr. Whitaker up there and had seen the gun in his hand,
Yep.
and you heard the safety click off.
Yes.
Is that when you shot, when you heard the safety click off?
Yes.
Okay. Now, once the safety clicked off and you shot, where did you shoot him?
In the eye, kind of in an angle right there.
Okay. And when you hit him with the bullet, presumably, did he fall immediately?
Yes.
Okay.
Fell against the refrigerator.
Okay. Was that behind him?
Yes.
Okay. Now, where was Melody at this point?
On the floor.
Okay. And you said the gun, when you heard the safety click off, the gun was pointed at her?
Yes.
Did you hear her at all over this time? Not, okay. When you went up there, did you see her?
Yes.
What did you tell her?
Go to the basement.
Okay. So she went off to the basement.
Yes.
What did you do at that point?
I went out to by the burn pile, got the deer sled, and put him on it, and wheeled him out by the burn pit.
Did you do this by yourself?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Now, there's been some testimony about whether it's possible for a person to lift or drag another person. You've heard that testimony, right?
Yes.
You said you've gone hunting for deer before?
Yep.
What is the purpose of a deer sled?
Put the deer on it and drag it back.
Okay. Would you be able to do that with a deer that you couldn't otherwise lift on your own?
Yes.
Is the purpose of that sled to drag something that's heavy?
Yes.
Okay. And so you yourself are the sole person who dragged the body out to the burn pile?
Yes.
And then you said you dragged it out there to the burn pile, right?
Yes.
What did you do next?
I drug it out there, put it by the burn pile, got some brush, piled it around it. I've been up for probably 2 days. I went back to the house and laid down.
Okay. So you put it out there and then basically covered it with brush.
Yes.
And then you laid down in the house. How long were you lying down for?
Like 2 hours.
Okay, when you finally woke up, what happened next?
He'd come back up. I helped him work on his car. He left, and it was probably about dark time. Then I went out, took the Coleman fuel, and set him on fire.
Now, Mr. Dixon, I have to ask you this. You understand how that sounds, right?
It sounds awful.
Okay. And you understand that, right?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Whitaker was already dead at this point, correct?
Yes.
Why would you burn the body afterward?
I wasn't thinking about it. All I was thinking about was try to cover it up. I was on meth.
And you understand that by trying to cover it up, that's led to a litany of other charges, correct?
Yes.
But you said you were on meth.
Yep.
Now you understand use of drugs is not an excuse for your behavior, right?
Nope, it's not.
Okay. Are you just simply explaining?
Yep.
So you set the body on fire,
Yes.
right? And burned it to hide it.
Yep.
What did you use to set the fire?
The Coleman fuel.
Anything else?
No.
Did you use, when I say not anything else, I'm not saying accelerants. Did you use any other accelerants?
No.
Okay. Did you pile anything else on there?
Tires, brush,
Okay.
trash, whatever burned.
Okay. About how long did it take for this to burn?
I burnt the fire probably 10, 15 days.
Okay. For quite a while.
Yes.
Okay. Now over there in evidence, there's a rake over there. Did you rake the pit at all?
Yes.
Okay. When you were raking the fire pits, did you rake the entirety of the area?
Yes.
Okay. Now, there's been several questions throughout, and you heard the testimony from the anthropologist, correct?
Yes.
And you heard the testimony from the anthropologist that some of the bones looked as if they'd been cut. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Did you cut any part of the body up?
No.
You did not.
Nothing. No.
Okay. So when you brought it out to the fire pit, you brought it out just as it was.
Yep. The whole body.
Okay. Now again, you heard the testimony of the anthropologist, right?
Yes.
Do you understand how someone could infer from those pictures that bones were cut?
Yeah.
And you understand that some people might find it incredible what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Okay. But your story today is that you didn't cut the body at all, correct?
No, I did not.
You don't know how that might have happened?
No.
Okay. So after that happened, I believe the family came out, correct?
Yes.
And then they told you to leave, is that right?
Yep.
When they told you to leave, what happened?
I got a few of my things and left.
Okay. Did you, and you heard testimony that from his daughter stating that you didn't fight them or anything like that?
No.
Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So when told to leave by them, you just took off?
Yes.
Okay. And then I believe they found your vehicle at Mr. Amarine's house, is that right?
Yes.
Is that where you went next?
Yep.
Okay. And eventually you then met up with law enforcement at your dad's house, is that right?
The next day they was there.
Now, you've both heard testimony from an officer as well as seen the video with that officer where you told him initially that you didn't know anything about his disappearance. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And you acknowledge that you made those statements, right?
Yes.
And you acknowledge those were not true, right?
Yes.
Why would you tell untrue stories to the officer initially?
Initially, I was trying to cover up or stay out of trouble.
Okay. Now, your intent there was just to stay out of trouble, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Once confronted by officers, did you eventually admit to killing Mr. Whitaker?
Eventually, yes.
Okay. Was that during your discussion with with prior Detective Downs?
Yes.
Okay. After that happened with Detective Downs, did you make any other statements to officers?
Yes.
Okay. Was that at the scene of the incident?
At the scene, at the sheriff's department.
Okay. So did you go back to the house at all?
Yes, several times.
Okay. Did you do a walkthrough at any point with the officers and
I did.
show them what happened?
I showed them exactly what happened.
Okay. To 1437.25. So this is 143731. Do you recognize who's in that photo?
That is me and Detective Downs, myself.
So again, I'm going to go to 143724. Do you recognize where this is, Mr. Dixon?
James Whitaker's resident.
Is this during one of the walkthroughs, Mr. Dixon?
Yes.
Now, we're playing this without sound here. That way that you can explain to the jury what's going on as we go through this video, all right? So, what is this area right here?
That is as soon as you walk in the front door. That would be living room, I guess.
Like more in front of you, that way as you're watching it, speak into the mic. And you see what the front of this house looked like, right?
Yes.
Is this generally how the house looked since you lived there over the 2 years?
Generally, yes.
Okay. Was it always sort of boxes stacked everywhere, things everywhere?
Yes.
So this is you walking in here.
Yes.
Now where you're at right now, in front of this officer.
That is where it either goes up to where I was the kitchen or down to the basement.
Okay. So right there's the steps down to the basement?
Yes.
This general area right here?
Yes.
And this is the 3 steps right here?
Yes.
So when you first walked in, this is this area right here where these 3 steps are. That's where you stopped after Melody went around to the bathroom?
Yes.
Where was Mr. Whitaker standing?
You can't really see it from that video right there.
Okay. Well, we can keep playing and see. Was he up here on the landing or was he in the kitchen?
He was up there in the kitchen, right? There's a bookshelf up there and he was standing behind it.
Sure. Are you talking about this bookshelf right here?
Yep.
So as it pans around a bit, maybe.
I was telling the officer where I was standing, where I shot Jimmy.
So there is the bookshelf, is that correct?
Yes, he was standing right in that area.
You're talking about this bookshelf right here?
Yep.
So where the officer is standing right now, is that approximately where Mr. Whitaker was standing?
Yes, the one that's got the camera on him.
Correct. And this space right here, where the mouse
Yep.
is that where you can see through to the downstairs area where you are?
Yes.
Is this why you've directed the officer to stand there?
Yes. I think they're trying to tell me that the way that I was telling them didn't make sense and we're just going to put the kitchen back the way it was, I believe.
Okay, well, let's go with that. So, when you say put the kitchen back, I presume that means that the kitchen was rearranged?
Yes.
Later on in this walkthrough, are you going to move the kitchen back the way it was on the date of the offense?
Yes.
So, as of this walkthrough, they had not moved the kitchen back in any way other than it is right here?
Yes.
This white shelf, this refrigerator, where was this white shelf?
Against the back wall.
That's where it was when they came on.
Yes.
Mr. Dixon, at this point, are you explaining to them the general layout of the kitchen prior?
Yes.
Is that why they keep referring back to this place?
Yeah. Yes.
So where that white cabinet is, what was there previously?
I believe the refrigerator was right there.
The refrigerator was
Yeah.
there?
Yes.
So on the night in question, go over this. On the night in question, after you brought the body outside, you said you immediately went to sleep?
Not immediately.
Did you at any point try to clean up the scene?
Yes.
When did that take place?
After I got back in the house.
Before you took the nap or after?
Before.
What were you cleaning up?
Blood.
Is this what you told the officers on this day?
Yep.
Do you remember what you used?
Bleach.
So you used bleach. Did you use rags or use anything else?
Rags.
What happened to those rags?
They got burnt.
So what are you doing here?
I'm showing Detective Downs where I was standing, where Jimmy was standing.
What are you looking at there in the corner? I should say there's been a lot of talk about a chair.
Yes, there's a chair back there. The one Jimmy sit in.
Is this the one they call the captain's chair or something like that?
Yes.
Referred to as?
Yes.
Is that the one that was earlier testified that he always had a gun by it?
Yes.
What was the gun that was always by it?
The Remington 1100.
The 1100?
Or he had a Remington. It was a little 22 that was also there.
So we always had two guns there?
Yes.
At least while you were living there?
Yep.
So, Mr. Dixon, you went to clean everything up. Did you also move things around?
Not immediately, no. I think it was the next day, a couple days later, me and Keith Strickland moved stuff around.
So, is that what Mr. Strickland talked about when he said he came up to help you move things around?
Yes.
Did he know what he was moving things around for?
No. I thought I'd done cleaned everything up. We was just rearranging.
So you were just rearranging the kitchen?
Yes. We're putting stuff back like it was.
So you're basically telling them as you're there where everything was located?
Yes.
And that was, you're saying where everything was located on the night that Mr. Whitaker died?
Yes.
Prior to your being there, did they have any idea where any of the stuff belonged?
No.
out there on the ceiling?
There was blood up there.
Who pointed that out?
I did.
Had they noticed it before you pointed it out?
No.
Now, you heard them testify that they'd been to the house several times already before you got this walkthrough, right?
Yes.
And they didn't know about the clothes until you pointed it out?
No.
Why did you point it out?
Because I was trying to be truthful with them.
So what do you explain to them about this?
I'm trying to explain to them how everything was moved because they're trying to tell me that what I told them's not, or it don't make sense of what I told them happened.
Okay.
Or they're not finding any evidence, was their exact words.
Okay. But you heard Detective Robinson say while he was on the stand that the physical evidence matched what you told him, correct?
After everything gets moved back around,
I see you gesticulating with your hands there. What are you pointing out to?
I was pointing out how the refrigerator was moved. It don't go there. It was against where that door is.
So was the white bookshelf, it was sort of flipped sideways where it is right now, correct?
Yes.
Was it pushed up back against that? What's he doing right here with the tape measure?
Measuring to see if the fridge will fit right there. I guess they think I'm full of shit, apparently.
Mr. Dixon, what's the language used, okay?
Yeah, all right.
So when they finally got the tape measure, did it verify that you were being truthful about where the refrigerator was?
Yes, if you keep watching the movie, the refrigerator gets put back.
Okay, we'll keep on watching. Was this white shelf sideways like this?
Yes.
Okay, so this wasn't, the white bookshelf wasn't moved per se, it was just sort of shifted sideways?
Yes.
What are you showing me there with your foot?
I believe that's where blood was.
Is there any noticeable blood on the floor right there that you can see?
No.
So if there wasn't any noticeable blood there, why did you tell them to do that?
I was trying to be honest with them.
Mr. Dixon, I'm moving ahead a little bit, because you said the refrigerator usually gets moved there.
Yes.
I'm moving ahead. Is there anything else that I'm missing here that you're going over?
No.
What are you doing here with the refrigerator?
I'm really not sure.
Is this then moving your refrigerator back to where you said it would? So is this then moving the refrigerator back to the location you said it went?
Yep.
Did it fit?
Yep.
Did it fit exactly how you told them it would?
Yep.
Was there anything that was there where you're pointing at?
Nope.
So previously, before things were moved, that area was sort of blank?
Yep. And then now they said, now it's starting to make sense after they did something.
Okay. So what does he ask you to do here?
He's trying to ask me how Jimmy was after he got shot.
So are you sitting where Mr. Whitaker was?
Yes.
After he got shot?
Yes.
So his body was sort of leaned up against the refrigerator?
Yes, and they asked me to put like how the gun was.
Okay. Now, this baseball bat he has, where does he want you to show them?
That is where the gun landed when he was shot.
Now, you said the gun, was this?
The 1100, the Remington.
Is that the one that he was holding?
Yes, the one he was holding.
So you put it sort of down by your right leg?
Yes.
Now, again, I don't know much about guns, but there's stock of the gun and then there's sort of the long part of the gun, right?
Yes.
What's that part called?
That would be the stock where it goes against his arm, would be like where your pointer is.
So the part on your leg is the stock?
Yes.
So basically it'd be pointing away from you?
Yes.
Or away from him? as it
Yes.
were?
Yes.
So basically that's where it was.
Yes.
Line. Is that what you're tapping? Again?
Yep.
No, you just kicked it away. Why did you do that?
They asked me where the gun exactly was. It was not on his leg. It was away from him about 2-3 foot.
Okay. When you got up there, did you touch the gun in any way?
I picked it up, yes.
You picked it up. Is that what you said?
Yes.
So you came up the stairs after you were shot. Where was Melanie at this time?
Right in front of him, right like where my legs were, about right where your pointer is.
So right in this area right here?
Yep.
Would that be right in front of the stove?
Yes.
Okay. Did she have any blood on her that you noticed?
Yes.
Did she say anything when you walked up?
No.
I think this would be a place to take our lunch break.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I don't believe there's too much more left of this video.
Okay, maybe we'll finish the video and then we'll take the lunch break.
Certainly.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
Do you remember what you were explaining to Detective Downs right there?
No.
Do you remember where you went after you showed them this part?
I believe I went out to the burn pile and pointed where the body was.
Okay. So, do you remember what you were showing him right here?
Not really.
Okay. At any point, did you explain to them how you moved the body?
I told him I used a deer sled.
Okay. Did they ask you whether you took the body out in itself, or whether you checked out first, or anything like that?
No.
So how did you explain to them that you took the body
The way I took it out, I went and got the deer sled, put him on like a shower curtain in a blanket, rolled him over, put the sled over top of him and flipped him on it and drug him out. It wasn't impossible, or trying to have been impossible. Yes, it was hard, but it wasn't impossible, like Detective Robinson said.
Okay. Now, you also indicated that you had been using methamphetamines at this time.
Yep.
You said that when you use methamphetamines, it gives you more energy, or it's an upper of sorts.
Yes.
So when you were moving your hands there, was that you demonstrating how you rolled them up?
Yes.
That's where this will look at. You then go outside.
I believe that's where we're going right now.
Why were you going outside at this point?
To show them where I put him.
So they asked you to show them where you had gone?
Yes.
And when they asked you, you went outside with them to show them?
Yep.
Why would you do that?
Just trying to be honest. And a lot of that stuff that where they said that there wasn't enough room to get the sled through, a lot of that I rearranged. It was like almost a month before the cops was even out there.
So in that entryway, was there more room previously?
Yes, quite a bit more room.
Now, as you're walking toward the burn pit, do you remember about how long it took you to take him from the kitchen out to the burn pit?
I'm not exactly sure. I'm guessing an hour.
So it wasn't like 5 minutes.
No.
It took you quite a bit of time.
Yes.
And now the jury's been showing pictures already of this area. Is this just a video of the same area that's already been shown?
Yes, and it's the burn pit. And I point to him exactly where I found or put him. That's when they started finding bones, where I showed them where to dig.
So you're walking straight out to the area where you left it?
Yep.
So right here, you're basically telling him exactly where it was.
Yep.
Why would you show them exactly where it was?
So they could get all of his remains.
And as the remainder of your walkthrough, essentially you standing there explain to them where it was and what you were doing.
Yes.
Do you remember if there was anything else after this?
No.
I'm going to go ahead and stop the video then at this point.
All right, then this would be the time to take a break for lunch. We'll have you back at about 1:15. So as I've told you before, do not discuss the case among yourselves. Do not permit anybody to discuss it with you or in your presence. It is your duty not to form or express any opinion on the case until it's finally submitted to you. We'll see you at 1:15. Thank you.